And we're live.
What a race! What a race! What a race! And what a quali! And shout out to everybody who woke up bright and early
Yeah.
to start watching these European races.
Welcome back to the. I almost said P1 podcast. Welcome back to the Formation Lab podcast. I'm your main host, Austin Brass.
Maine.
I knew you were gonna-
I'm the secondary host.
I wanted to see your reaction to that.
No, this is our secondary host with us here, Francis. Do you have anything
He's
to
not.
say?
Just smells
Never.
Yeah.
Never anything. Oh, what was that? Nothing.
nothing. But yeah, it was a good race.
It was. It was exciting, especially for one that we thought was going to be kind of a snooze fest because of the lack of overtakes that usually can happen.
Yeah, they framed it as like this Monaco-esque, and Monaco's next week. But they framed it as like it's qualifying, nothing's going to change. From the race order, and for
Right.
the most part, that was kind of true. But there were a few
But
there were
no.
a few mechanical errors in there, a virtual safety car and an actual safety car, that made it a lot more exciting than
Right. Well, and
it
then
traditionally
also
is.
the tires.
Yeah, they went a set softer.
Right. So we were on the softest tires of all of the compounds for this race,
Yeah,
which basically means the softer the tire is, the faster it can go, but the faster it wears down. And this is the first time we've seen the C6, which is the softest tire
look
out
at
of
you, so technical.
well, just for the people who may not know. So we had the C6 as our soft this week, which this was the first we've seen of that tire compound.
Didn't see it in the race
No, oh gosh, no.
because it's just
It fell off so quick.
yeah, or it would have. We don't.
Well,
really know.
and then speaking of tires, that was such, I mean, and so the reason I bring that up is because that's what made this race interesting, is because
Everybody was on mediums and hards.
because we had that soft tire and it really
Yeah,
change things up. Like last year, I think this was a one stop. Given with all the safety cars, like who knows what it would have been without those.
yeah.
But it was shaping up to maybe be probably not actually. They were predicting a one, but made quali really interesting.
Made quality interesting. I like the European circuits just because even if it is a boring race, it at least visually looks beautiful watching fast cars going around, the Italian countryside.
That is true.
So, that alone is enough to get me to watch, but it was an exciting race.
Yeah, and I think we even have to talk about quali a little bit here too, because there were so many things that happened. Longest quali ever, I feel like. But I mean, speaking of the tires, how the frickin' Aston Martins got up there
Yeah, using this
using
mediums.
mediums was crazy. I was so frustrated that the Williams didn't end up taking that same strategy because I really think that would have put them like
Even higher.
so high. Yeah.
It ended up working all right for them in the race. They got as high, maybe Alex could have got fourth instead of fifth.
Yeah. I
So
guess
like I
maybe
think
wouldn't
they
have made
kind of maximized their result in the race anyway.
fair.
So
I don't know. I feel like science could have ended higher.
but the other runners, maybe Hajar in there.
Mhm.
One of the Williams, Russell did it on a set of mediums just to try to shake it
Yeah.
up because all right, like for like, if you match the McLarens and Verstappen on strategy, you're always going to lose. So you
Right.
might as well offset the strategy.
Try something
And
like
try
out of
something
left
new.
field, see
Yeah,
if it
yeah.
works. And speaking of signs too, getting the fastest lap in Q2.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Yeah, the Williams looked really good.
They did.
So
They did.
you said you were like, I think it's time to get some Williams merch.
Yeah, go Williams.
Yeah.
Go
yeah.
Williams. Then also the controversial call with Behrman in the quali as well.
Yeah, just
So
weird.
frustrating.
I don't know how they spend that much time like delaying
Right.
qualifying just to end up making the wrong decision.
Right. And make the decision that like if you hadn't delayed, just would have been the one you went with anyway.
Just so weird.
It was really weird. And like literally for all like every single commentator, every single person we've watched react to this, and our own eyes as well, verifies that the red flag was not out when he passed over the finish line.
Well,
because it was delayed. But like that's not fair. If it was so the red flag was out, but it hadn't signaled on track. So how is that fair?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But imagine if that happened at the top runners. Like if that was between the difference between Max getting his lap in or Lando or any one of the top guys. Imagine if that that their lap was deleted.
Yeah,
It ended
that's
up being a lower stakes,
sure.
driver and situation with Bortoleto versus
Behrman
Behrman.
has shown out though before. He could have
Right,
had a decent showing
right,
if
but
not for
their
that.
decision wasn't going to impact the drivers' championship. It might,
No.
but it could have, and
Right, right. So that's a terrible precedent that we're
right.
setting there.
So anyway, I guess no
Ugh,
harm, no foul, but
I
we'll
guess.
move on. And fantasy,
Well, hold on then.
uh,
That's not even everything that happened in quali.
okay.
Yuki's crash.
Yuki crashed.
That was really scary.
Oh yeah, and ended up flipping upside down. And anytime they flip upside down, I mean, it's not as scary as it obviously without the halo, but
Right.
it's any crash is
But
scary.
that's like what I was talking about last time on the pod was that this track is really unforgiving because it's so old. There's not a lot of runoff. So like if your car does whatever the heck Yuki's car does, you just crash and
Yeah.
in a pretty major way.
hmm
But
And I don't know how many of the upgrades Yuki didn't have. I guess we'll get into the fantasy.
well,
Can
don't
I
they
get
have
into
to
it?
run the same upgrades?
No, they can come with different specs. They can offset the specs.
Oh, so you think you don't know? We just don't know if
I,
Yuki
I
was
know.
running the same
I
upgrades.
know. Yeah, we'll get into fantasy. Max Verstappen
Yep.
won the race, and this is the first week I have not put my DRS boost on Max,
It's a
and it
shame.
always pays off because there's another. I used a chip, and last season I used the 3 times chip on Max Verstappen,
This always happens to you.
and then I have a horrible record of using
Right.
chips and like actually, and it just being a totally different
Right.
outcome
So
than what
that
we've
first
traditionally
time
seen. The first time I put three times the points on Max, and he
af-
ended up DNFing.
right after having like an immaculate season up until that
Right,
point.
right. And so I got 3 times like the negative. It was like negative 60
Yeah.
points.
And then what chip did you use this
I
time?
use is it called Limitless?
Mhm.
Yeah. So you get there's no cost cap. There's no trade restrictions. You just add whatever team or whatever driver you want, and
Like
it
your
didn't
dream team
work out
basically.
right, and it didn't work out for me as well as it should have.
So run us through. Who was your dream team?
So I put both the McLaren drivers
Of course.
and Max Verstappen. Those are the 3 best drivers in
Yep.
contention. And then I used the McLaren team, obviously, which is the same as my normal team.
Yeah.
And I had to decide who's going to be the third fastest team, not the Red Bull and McLaren. And then I thought it would be Mercedes.
Yeah.
So I took both the other Mercedes drivers and then the Mercedes team. And Antonelli ended up DNFing. Lando, I did put my DRS boost, the 2 times boost on Lando Norris,
Mhm.
and he obviously didn't win. So the combination of the DNF and then Max actually winning means I didn't get as much as I should have.
You actually didn't win this week,
No, I
which
didn't.
is crazy that you sacrificed your limitless
Yeah.
and still didn't even win.
I want to say,
Yeah.
as far as the overall standings go, I jumped from like 7th to 3rd
That is true.
in the overall standings with this like monster
For the
week.
overall season. Yeah,
For
that
the
is
overall
true.
standings. So like I kind of nailed it that, I
Right.
didn't technically win the week, but now I'm right back in the running
Yeah.
for the season.
Right. For the season
So
champion.
so I consider it a success.
Oh, 100%. But I think we would be remiss to not speak about the team who beat you. You using a limitless chip, the team who beat you,
Use
not
nothing.
using
Yeah.
anything whatsoever.
No, and I'm looking at it, no DNFs.
Nope.
Chose the right winner with
Yep.
his DRS boost, and then Williams.
So
and
this was
Williams did really well.
So commit Max Evasion was our winner of the week. Congrats, Jared, for putting your 2-time on Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
That was a lot
I shouldn't have doubted.
Well, I mean, I understand. I understand why.
Can I talk? I didn't know. I forgot, if I researched a little bit more, that they were coming with upgrades this week, and I should have just waited to see how good these upgrades were.
Yeah.
It's their first major upgrade package of the season, and
seems like it paid off.
It seems like Red Bull's right back in it.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Like with the
championship on.
Yeah, championship's on between 3 drivers.
Yeah.
Right now it looks like it's between 3 drivers.
Which is really exciting because I feel like usually it's only like a 2 people.
A
really.
runaway. Or like the second a driver gets like, 2 races in a row.
Right.
People are like ready to call it for Oscar Piastri, and we have like 60% of the season left. Way even more than that.
Yeah.
So
Long season.
long season.
So the dream team actually ended up being a two-time on Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, Alex Albon, Alonso, Hadjar. They all scored,
Nice.
which is not typical. Usually you have at least one person in there that scores at least like 0.
Right. How'd you
For
do?
for me this week, I ended up with 4th. Not as good as I was hoping for. I also used a chip, though mine was very different. I used a no negative chip. Because what I did, I was seeing the Williams, I wanted both of them.
Mm.
So I had to make some sacrifices. So to get Carlos Sainz onto my team, I did have to take Franco Colapinto as well, which I'm so glad now I used that no negative because
Yeah.
Colapinto crashed in quali,
Mm-hmm.
and then he did okay in the race,
Yeah, and then you
but
did
like
okay.
nothing
Got you
crazy.
0 points now. So
But the Haas's, I have Haas the team, and Behrman,
yeah, Behrman DNF'd.
right?
Yeah.
So or no, Ocon did.
Ocon.
It was Ocon,
Yeah,
not
it
Behrman.
was.
My bad. My bad. Sorry, Ollie.
Mechanical failure, not his fault.
Yeah, not his fault. Not his fault. So I'm glad I didn't take those negatives. I would have been doing a lot worse. But you know, I had my boy Oscar Piastri with a 2-time.
Nice.
Albon, Hadjar, Sainz, and Colapinto. Not too shabby.
Not bad.
Although, in retrospect, I should have taken your advice, which was switch out the Haas for the Alpine.
Yeah, I don't think Haas is on any given week. You kind of can. It seems like flip a coin and see which is the better of the bottom runners.
Yeah.
So I can't blame you for going Haas.
Yeah. So that's basically fantasy for the week.
Yeah, that's fantasy, and then none of us had Ferrari team or drivers.
No. So let's get into the race itself then, because
Yeah.
we talked a bit about quali. So now
Horrible qualifying performance from Ferrari, but like they made up for it in massive strides during the race.
Yeah.
So, I can't imagine the narrative if they finished, out of one driver out of the points, Leclerc 8th or something, like what the tone would have been like amongst the team. So they it was a big day for them to actually like turn it around from such a horrible Saturday.
Right. So they started 11th and 12th, I believe.
Yeah.
And did 4th and 6th. With a little Albon in there.
Yeah.
A little William sandwich.
And Albon could have been in that 4th spot if it weren't for the competition with
Well, and I don't know if you had seen any of Charles's post-quali interviews. He was like
shouldn't have given the position back.
Depressed. No, he was like really losing faith in the car itself. Like the comments he was making.
Post qualifying or post race?
Post quali.
Oh, okay.
He was like literally like making jokes about how like they'd asked about like, oh, do you think you can do anything with like tire strategy or something? He was like, different tires, turn it upside down, flip it inside out, doesn't matter. We can't perform like a miracle with this car. Yeah. Like he was literally like, we're not doing anything with this. And then they did.
It's been 18 years or something since they've won a championship. And it looks like they're heading in I brought this up last week that like you're not bandwagoning because they're good. When you came into the sport and you wanted a Ferrari, like you didn't choose the best team and you're like, I want to root for the best team. So it's just going to make that championship, if it ever comes, that much better.
Oh my God.
But maybe one day.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You haven't even... Oh, wow.
Go ahead.
No, you go. Maybe even...
No, I was going to say mean. I was like, maybe that day will come and Leclerc won't even be there. Right?
Oh my God, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
Leclerc could have been a Ferrari driver during their worst period as a team. So
we'll cut the cameras. Yeah. Cut the cameras. I can't do that. I can't do that. Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Don't even
turn it around.
No, don't even put that energy in the world.
New regulations coming 2026. It's going to be a totally different year. So you're going to be okay. Maybe
they're turning a new leaf.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised you didn't start with talking about Maxi.
No. I said it by saying the championship's back on.
Well, talking about this
like how incredible he is.
Yes, that first turn move.
Yeah.
Which for all intents and purposes should be impossible.
Right.
Like you should not be able to do anything there.
And
but he did.
Piastri said he braked too early.
Mm,
So it was I think I'd have to look at it again, but I think it
yeah.
was a combination of Max just absolutely sending it on the outside
Yep.
and Piastri giving the smallest bit of window for that to happen.
Yeah.
Like maybe not nailing his braking zone. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Seeing them wheel to wheel though was really
and the
cool. I don't know.
McLaren's wheel to wheel too was
Oh my
exciting.
gosh. Well, but I think with that Max one, that was so on the edge that like if it I don't know. I'm just saying if that had been another driver he had been racing against, I think there's a good chance they both get taken out.
Like a less experienced driver.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Y-
someone who is not as cool, calm, and collected as the Iceman Oscar Piastri
mhm.
himself.
Yeah.
Like I like very easily they were so close. Oscar could have just like and crashed
Yeah.
right into him, and they'd have been both gone and done for. Not
Yeah.
saying that would have been Lando. Not saying that, but
And
he has a
then
little bit less control, it seems, at times.
Lando's margin to the championship slightly improved.
Yeah, oh for sure. He's only like 10 points behind Oscar now.
So
Um, anytime
it was
like
like
it's
14 or something.
yeah, something like
Okay.
that. But at any time it's like the same like teammates driving against each other, my entire body clenches.
Yeah.
I don't even, I don't have as much of a stake in McLaren as I do with Ferrari, but I'm screaming because I hate it. I'm like the risk benefit reward here is like
The commentators
ah.
the commentators keep trying to like get Zach Brown to like say who's the favorite, what's the
Mhm.
strategy. Like
Mhm.
they every time he's on the camera, they're always poking and prodding him, being like, who's gonna get the preferential strategy? Who do you have winning this? And Zach Brown always gives the most politically correct, like right down the middle answer
Right, right.
of,
It's like, well,
like
whoever's ahead.
we're just gonna go racing and see what happens.
Yeah,
It's just like
yeah.
it's all he's always and they panned to him after the wheel to wheel fight, which we haven't seen much McLaren wheel
No.
to wheel fighting. So and he looked his heart was probably beating
Oh my god,
insane,
yeah,
but
but he
he,
had
he
the
looked kind of blank
blankest
as
look.
stare.
Yeah.
He might have been in shock, like
He's got the 1,000-yard stare
yeah,
because of
if
papaya
something.
rules.
Oh, they're never gonna mention that again. That got made fun of so hard for that. For those who don't know, there was like controversies last year of who is the number one driver, what's the policy on favoring the driver who's ahead in the championship, and they called it papaya rules, and they didn't actually clarify what those papaya rules were. It was just whatever was discussed in the team meeting, and then on track they were fighting, and they didn't seem to be playing by any rules, let alone this papaya rule that they made.
Well, and then how they messed up strategy so many times, like accidentally undercutting the person that
Yeah,
was ahead. It
yeah.
was
I'm
just
like,
like a
is
mess.
papaya rules just to like screw both drivers over?
Right,
Like, what is
right.
papaya
Yeah.
rules? So I think they've kind of cleaned up that,
Yeah.
and they just said for now they're treating both drivers equally.
So yeah, for those who aren't familiar as well, most of the teams have a first and second
A
driver.
priority.
Right, a priority list. I think every other team on the grid basically has that.
Who gets to come in first for new
Right,
tires?
right.
Yeah,
If they're swapping positions, it's gonna
yeah.
benefit the first driver usually. And McLaren is the only team on the grid who claims that they don't have that.
A one
There's
two.
not a 1-2, they're equal. Um, a lot of people think that is like not a great recipe for success because the risk benefit, if they're racing against each other all the time, there is a higher risk that they are like taking each other out on
Yeah,
accident.
yeah,
And it's created some very fierce competition, so it's something we're looking at to see, is this actually the better like strategy, the better theory, because then not only are they just racing harder, they're you know
yeah,
benefiting the team as a result.
yeah, yeah. McLaren has the constructors, I think, on lock.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Unless there's a dramatic change in
100%.
Yuki's performance.
Yeah,
Um,
poor guy.
yeah, I think they've just kind of not given up on that Red Bull second car, but
The
like
second seat
even when
is
even when
cursed.
that second seat doesn't do well, we're not even talking about it anymore. They've
No.
just kind of like Red Bull's
Well,
a one driver team at this point from a media perspective. It
yeah.
seems
Oh
like
yeah.
the F1 TV commentators, they don't really dog on Yuki's performance. If
No.
he crashes, they're just like, oh yeah, but like it doesn't matter
I
because look
think
at Max.
right, I think everybody's just accepted at this point that Max is, like, superhuman, and he can do things with that car that, like, nobody else can,
Yeah,
so it's, like, almost unfair to hold anybody to that standard.
yeah. And oh, and I said at the beginning is I don't know how many of those upgrades were on Yuki's car.
Right.
I know the front wing was the original front wing for Red Bull, and Max obviously
Mm,
got the full upgrade package. And the reason why they do that is so you have your old car spec and your new car spec on the same track on the same day, and you're getting, comparable data to see, did these upgrades actually upgrade you. Um, Sometimes teams just bring out all the upgrades all at once on both cars, but
mm,
we'll see how well Yuki can perform with the full upgrades that Max had this race
yeah,
in
so
Monaco.
here's what the internet is saying, is that he did have the same upgrades, during quali, and then when they had to rebuild the car, they had to shift some of the specs as a result.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I don't know how much of that, like,
Right,
that's all I know,
that's
but
Google's AI, which is
yeah,
not
yeah,
gonna.
I'm not gonna, yeah,
They probably doesn't even know there was a race today.
yeah. Anyway, so that's that. But
Next week,
for a race that was supposedly not gonna be doing
very
much,
fun.
I'm glad that they put in tire strategy as something to look out for. Obviously, the safety cars were interesting, and
Yeah.
yeah, booms and busts.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Boom is Max,
Mm, okay.
and Bus for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Um, and then Bust is going to be Ferrari didn't make it easy because it's not a bust at all, but
I'll let you think about
the
that.
C6, the tire, that's the bust.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
it was a bust.
it didn't get any race. It was purely a qualifying tire.
Yep. And even then, it wasn't even the best. Sometimes, arguably not the best
Arguably
qualifying
not even the
tire.
best qualifying tire. So the C6
So I did say
is my bust.
it was fun to have that in the mix, but like it was kind of useless.
Yeah, but I like it. Well, sometimes the hard tire is useless. So it's
Fair.
like, I feel like there's always going to be one useless tire that's not
Yeah.
used in the race, that's not used in
Well,
qualifying.
to be fair, we hardly do see softs in races.
Yeah,
It's mostly just a qualifying
right.
tire. Um. Yeah. So booted the C6 compound.
Yeah,
At least at this track. Who knows?
yeah.
But like this is supposed to be a really low deck track, so if it can't work there, then like it's a bust.
Yeah.
You're right. My boom for the week is Ferrari. Not because
Go
okay,
ahead, go
okay,
ahead, go ahead.
not because this is
I
how they
know.
should be performing, but
All right.
because 11th and 12th to 5th and
Great
6th
recovery.
is
Yes. Yes.
and it's a boom because people are not expecting the Ferraris to do good
Is that the
anymore.
bar? Is that where the bar
No,
is?
shh. I'm just saying, even Charles was not expecting the car to do well
Yeah.
today, and it did. It did okay. He got 4th, right? He wasn't on podium, but he was right there. So,
Mhm.
that's I'm gonna take that.
Nice.
At this point, we got to take what we can as tifosi,
Yeah,
as
why
Ferrari
not?
fans. And my bust, Mercedes.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Because I think people are like Mercedes
Should have
has
been
stepped up. They
more
should have been
competitive.
doing better,
Yeah.
and the only reason Kimmy DNF'd is because of a mechanical failure. It wasn't his fault.
Odd. Yeah.
It just like his car just completely stopped. Like the
Yeah.
power just went out in the middle of the road. So that's a big bust for Mercedes. And then George Russell, I think, got like 7th. So
Yeah. So
nothing.
they either messed up the strategy, didn't
Yeah.
have the pace, combination of both.
Yeah.
So yeah, disappointing when you have a 7th and a DNF.
Right.
Um,
You expect more from that team now at this point.
yeah, right.
My secondary bust was potentially going to be Aston Martin, but like they did way better than in quali than they were supposed to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Speaking of upgrades, I think this was Adrian Newey's first upgrade package on the Aston Martin.
well, he wasn't supposed to upgrade this year at all.
I know. Well, who knows how much he's actually influenced this
Yeah,
upgrade
I guess
package?
that's
Whether
true.
it's like he's there, whether he said, tweak this, tweak that,
Right.
you know,
So
who,
so
or whether he's fully focused on the 26 car and he's paying no attention to
well,
this
that's what
car.
people have been saying.
Right.
For those who are unfamiliar,
Well, he's
Adrian Newey is the former Red Bull lead like
engineer.
engineer.
Yeah.
he's like iconic. He's like basically the best engineer of all time,
he's
like the
designed
goat.
all kinds of stuff, not just Formula One
Like
cars.
but always like race winning cars.
Mm-hmm.
He moved over to Aston Martin recently and hasn't been doing anything with the team so far. Like he's moved there for 2026 when all the new regulations are coming in. From what we've heard,
So
he
the
hasn't
expectation,
right, he hasn't touched the car and he wasn't going to. And then lo and behold, they pulled something
yeah,
out of their
we'll see.
butts for this one. And it was maybe because Adrian Newey just went in there and did like one little thing.
Right. It's like
That's the power.
or,
That's the Adrian Newey
or
buff.
maybe he just like goes into the factory and like watches the engineers working, and he just like and he just like makes comments like, and then
Maybe
they're like move it this way, and yeah, like
Yeah,
he doesn't
yeah.
actually like do anything, just like
Right.
just makes comments.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
That wouldn't be my preference there.
yeah, I don't know about that. Anyway,
And they're
but
like, but what do we do? He's like, nah, I don't know. I'm thinking about a different car. So
yeah, cool. All
all
right,
right.
Monaco next week.
Yeah, I mean, I usually do a little kind of summary of the week to come, though I think Monaco needs no introduction.
Fun one.
Yeah, and
Like I
less.
said, it's beautiful. It's just
Well,
cool to
it
watch.
is gorgeous, and it's not a fun one. To be fair, it's boring
The
as
race
hell.
isn't, but
Yeah,
tune in
so
for quali.
quali is the real race here.
It's always
So
exciting.
Monaco is very similar to Imola that we just had, where it's like it's a street circuit, like a real street circuit, and there's no overtaking happening. Once quali is set, that is how it
Unless
ends.
you really mess something up.
Right, or unless there's like some crashes or something. But so if you're a new fan to F1, I would say don't expect a lot from this race. People, it's historic, right? It's like
Yeah.
classy F1, but like as far as a spectator, you know,
If you're in it for the wheel to wheel racing,
there's not going to be a whole lot
there's
of
not going to be a lot.
action on track. I remember last year was pretty much a snooze fest.
Oh my gosh.
It was like nothing.
So there was you have to pit. You have to do two different tire compounds in a race. That's a rule. So what happened last year is, I think it was a lap 1 incident, or
yeah.
So it was a lap 1 incident, safety car. Everybody comes in, goes to the hard tire, and then doesn't
takes
pit,
it to the whole,
and then doesn't pit the whole rest of the race.
Yep.
So that's what sometimes changes it, is like a little bit of an undercut. You come out here like halfway through the race, and that maybe makes it a little bit more exciting. But you didn't even get that.
No.
You just got however many laps, like 63, of just the same order. But
let us not forget, it was Charles won last year.
Yeah.
And he's a Monegasque. It was the first time he won his home race. There's been a Charles curse at Monaco for forever. So he did finally break that. So I did cry. That was a beautiful thing, but a boring ass race. Like it was so boring. So, I think
can't be worse than last year's. So
I mean, and it's not bad. It's just nothing happens. And we saw an ad for the Monaco race on TV on ESPN the other day, and it's like, I don't know, like it's flashy. It's Monaco. It's like iconic with F1. Like I think that's what people think of when they think of F1.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you're a new fan of the sport and you're like excited for this race and you can't wait for all the action,
tune it in
and it just know that it's not.
Tune in on Saturday.
Right. Quali is where things will be set, and the Sunday race is not indicative of what F1 is as a whole, because it is pretty boring. But you do get the chance for, like, this is a strategy race on Sunday, next Sunday. You get the chance for, like you said, the undercuts, the tires, all that kind of stuff. But the real fun will be had on Quali, because once that lineup is set, that is probably how it'll end.
Yeah. All right.
So, Monaco, it's exciting.
Thank you for tuning in. The lap has been formed.
No, it's shoot.
What?
We had a comment. We had a comment of an outro to try, and I totally forgot.
A comment?
Yeah, we were asking people to suggest some outros last time around.
Did we?
Yeah, and to leave them in the comments. And I'm gonna feel really bad now if we don't test this one out. So let me pull it up. Okay.
What was the comment?
Yes.
You want to read it?
Box, we need you to box and retire the pod.
I like it.
You say copy.
Oh, copy that.
So okay. Should we try that again?
Okay, yeah.
Box, we need you to retire the pod.
Copy.